I thought I might share with you the first chapter of my debut novel, This Is Not a Love Story. And I hope you enjoy it. This is chapter 1. Scarlett stood in the bay window and wiped the sill with a microfiber duster. Her hands sweated in a Pavlovian response to looking out of the window. She pushed her thumbnail into the rubber seal, just like she'd done so many times as a child. The rubber was brittle now, and some of it came away under her short nail. 12 years earlier, a much younger Scarlett sat on the sill in the same bay window, small sweaty palms pressed up against the glass as she stared out onto the driveway. Her stepdad Brian pushed a large Delsbury University duffel bag into the boot of his car. The bag sagged open and one of his white work shirts spilled out. After he slammed the boot closed, one arm hung down over the bumper. The driveway was wet from the earlier rain. As Brian drove away, the tyres splashed up muddy water onto the white sleeve waving behind the car. Scarlett could hear her mother Marie in the kitchen. Glass bottles clattered together, and then there was the slosh of liquid into a glass. She was too little to understand her mother's drinking, but she knew to be a good girl and keep out of the way. "Scarlett!" Marie called from the back of the house. Scarlett turned away from the window, her hands leaving damp prints on the glass. She pressed her thumbnail into the rubber seal until the nail bed went white, leaving a small crescent shape behind. She slid off the windowsill and trailed towards the kitchen and the sound of her mother's voice. "I finished cleaning the lounge," an adult Scarlett called to her mother. Marie wandered around the doorway with a glass of wine in her hand. Glancing at the clock, Scarlett noted silently that it was only just an acceptable time of day to be drinking. "Remember, Mum, Maggie from Spotless Cleaning is going to come for 2 hours each Monday. She'll do a general clean and change the bedding in your room. You can leave her a note if you want her to do anything different." Marie rolled her eyes at her daughter. Her hands moved as she spoke, and the wine was in real danger of spilling out of the glass. "Darling, I don't know why you're so worried. I am the adult here, am I not? You're such a mother hen." Scarlett huffed and tried to move past her mother into the hallway. She had to squeeze against the frame to get through without knocking the glass of wine that was being pointed at her. When she got to the kitchen, she flung the duster into the washing machine and slumped into a chair at the table. She ran her hands through her shoulder-length hair in frustration. The truth was, she worried about her mother. Marie was between husbands again, and she was a serial monogamist and didn't function well when not in a relationship. The wine and spirits were back, and the house would soon be a tip without Scarlett there to keep on top of it. It was the worst possible time for Scarlett to be heading off to university. She decided it was necessary to organise for a cleaner to come in once a week, and she'd booked for a grocery delivery at the same time every Friday evening. She would not let her mum ruin this for her. She'd turned 19 last week, and tomorrow she would move an hour away into a student house next to the university campus. The next morning, Scarlett finished putting the last few smaller items into her bag. The night before, she'd packed her car with all the bigger stuff: vacuum-packed duvet and pillows, a suitcase full of her clothes, and a TV monitor that would double up as an extra screen for her iPad. Looking around her bedroom one last time, Scarlett threw her bag over her shoulder. Sure, she had everything. Her plan was to not come home until reading week at October half-term. Marie was sitting at the kitchen table when Scarlett came downstairs. She was clutching a glass of orange juice a little too closely to her chest. "Are you ready to go, Mum?" "Oh, no, darling. I don't think you want me to come. You get off and start your new life without your mother. Enjoy your independence." There was a spiteful tone to Marie's voice that made Scarlett's heart sink. All along, the plan had been for her mother to drive down with her, help her get settled, and then they'd go out for lunch before Marie got the train home. "Please, Mum, we were going to have a nice last day together." "Well, I don't really see the point, darling. It's a long way to go just for lunch." "But it's not just lunch, Mum. It's a chance for us to spend time together because I'm moving away." "Oh, are you, darling? I never would have guessed." Marie's spite was out in full force now. Scarlett turned her face away from her mother as she felt the tears sting the corners of her eyes. "Okay, bye then," she said in a small voice, bending down to kiss her mother's cheek. She breathed in, expecting to inhale the familiar scent of Chanel No. 5, but instead she caught the smell of alcohol mixed in with the orange juice. Standing up sharply, she backed away, nearly tripping as her foot caught the other chair. She turned and hurried out to her car. Marie stood in the bay window, the nearly empty glass of vodka orange clutched in her hand. She fingered the gouged out bits of the rubber seal, then pressed her hand against the window. Her daughter's watery eyes met hers in the wing mirror of the car for a moment before Scarlett started the car and turned onto the road. Once the little Ford Fiesta was out of sight, Marie poured herself another drink. She sat at the kitchen table and browsed her favourite shopping websites on her laptop. Lost in the world of online shopping, she jumped when the post dropped onto the doormat. She staggered slightly, getting up to retrieve the post, pressing her fingers to her temple to ward off a headache. She had to lean heavily on the wall as she bent to pick up the letters. Most of them looked like bills, and they went straight into a designated drawer of the sideboard. She could feel a hard rectangle inside the last envelope, and she took it back to the table and quickly tore it open. Smiling, Marie pulled the new credit card off the paper. She flicked the laptop screen back to the shopping page and used the new card to pay for the Michael Kors handbag she'd saved. A satisfying ping announced the payment had been accepted. She relaxed at the sound, feeling the anxious energy drain from her limbs. Her phone rang and she looked at the screen, seeing the tiny digital photo of her friend Suzanne. She put her on speakerphone as she made herself a fresh vodka orange. She was feeling good, the pleasure of making the purchase coursing through her. "Suzanne, darling, do you want to meet for lunch?" Her friend's thin voice came through the phone. "I would love to, Marie. How about Ramsay's?" "Oh, no, darling. Let's go to the golf club restaurant. There'll be much more choice there. I am on the lookout for an eligible bachelor after all." So that was chapter 1 of This Is Not a Love Story by Emma Wallis.